Bienvenue. Je m'appelle D.M. Patterson, and aujourd'hui je vais parler de Paris. Paris is absolutely as magical as everyone says it is, and I'm so glad that we got a chance to go. We almost missed our opportunity to go to Paris because while we were in Amsterdam, the public transportation personnel were going on strike. I am all for better living wages and a good work environment, and I hope that the workers were able to get what they were striking for. But they did cancel a great deal of trains, and one of those trains was the train that we were going to take from Amsterdam to Paris. So there was about a day or two where we actually thought we weren't going to be able to go to Paris at all because of the strikes and because of the amount of trains and transportation that were being canceled across the board in Amsterdam. Fortunately, my husband found an Uber driver who was willing to take us from Amsterdam to the Antwerp, Belgium train station there. And from Antwerp, we were able to take the train into Paris. We actually had a wonderful time talking to the Uber driver on the way down. He had a lot of very interesting facts about Amsterdam. He had a great deal of information about the football season, which is soccer here in America. There was a big game that had gone on. He told us about the different rivals. But he also told us a lot of historical facts about Amsterdam, and the drive went very fast because we had a really wonderful time talking to him. I was very excited to go to Antwerp because it is also one of the very major places in Europe that holds a very historical relevance, both in World War II and also for the Jewish community. Unfortunately, we had a very short time there. We pretty much went to the train station and left on the train. So we didn't have time to explore the Jewish community or even get Belgian chocolate, which was a real shame, but honestly, I was so glad that we were able to get to Paris even through the strikes and all of the trains being canceled that I was okay with not getting Belgian chocolate. Our time in Paris was unfortunately very brief. We only had a weekend there, but it was packed with beautiful memories, the magic of Paris, and of course, some really amazing time with my friends. Just a little side story to connect you with how I knew Fred and Manu. I met Fred when he came here to America a couple of years ago through HTS Publishing. Now, Fred had been really good friends with Dave Lee, whom I've mentioned before. He does HTS Publishing. Fred came down to dress up with Dave Lee for MarsCon, and that's where I met Fred. Fred and I developed a friendship right then and there, and we have maintained it ever since. We are both writers, and I have also worked with Fred as an editor. He has some of his stories published through HTS Publishing as well. Fred then met his wonderful partner Manu, and I was able to start talking to her, and I also worked with her as an editor, as one of her short stories is also published through HTS Publishing. So as I was going into Paris, I could not wait to see Fred again and to meet Manu for the first time, and also to have Freya and David meet Manu and Fred too. It was wonderful to be reunited with Fred again and to meet his partner, and we set off down the streets talking all over each other, trying to catch up with everything, trying to get to know each other, and also just taking a look around at all the beautiful architecture of the buildings. We were noting how different they were from the kind of blocky, tall lankiness of Amsterdam. The buildings in Paris seemed to have more curves and, dare I say it, were more voluptuous than the buildings in Amsterdam. And it had been kind of drizzling on and off here and there, and it was overcast. It was a little chilly. It was just perfect for Paris. And we ended up going to this corner cafe called La Dante. And by then the sun was going down and it was kind of raining again, just sort of drizzling, like a very light rain. So it was just absolutely perfect ambiance in Paris to be sitting outside in a cafe with it raining a little bit, and it was dark and it was getting late. And I had a linguine and I think it was chicken and mushrooms dinner, which was absolutely delicious. I don't remember what everyone else had. I know Freya got a cheese board because she liked cheese, and she discovered that her 6-year-old taste didn't exactly like all of the cheese on the cheese board, but we all made short work of her cheese. I then ordered dessert because you can't go to Paris and not have dessert. I ordered the famous pastries profiteroles. It was pastries with ice cream and chocolate, and I think there was custard in it. Oh my word, it was the best dessert I've ever had in my life. I absolutely loved it. I ate a majority of it, and I did give some to David and Freya, but I was being very selfish and ate a majority of it myself. I did not feel bad at all. It was delicious. They also had apple juice that was freshly squeezed and unfiltered. So it had a little bit of a frothy texture to it, and then there were some of the bits that had come through when they were squeezing down at the bottom of the glass. Oh my goodness. It was perfect. Honestly, though, the best part about that was being able to catch up with Fred and get to know Manu more. And there are these two amazing friends that I had, getting to know my husband and my daughter, and I just it could not have been a more perfect night. After our amazing dinner and delicious dessert, we decided to walk it off a little bit, and we went down to Le Tour Eiffel, or the Eiffel Tower. Unfortunately, the lights were turned off in honor of Queen Elizabeth's passing. For those that I've already talked to, you know that I have some bitterness about the fact that the planets aligned for me to be in Paris and to be with my friends and to have my husband and my daughter there and to see the Eiffel Tower lit up at night, and it wasn't lit. But c'est la vie. It's just incentive to come back and be with Fred and Manu again. But I'm so happy that I was able to see it, and it's a very impressive structure, lights or not. I do have to say on a more serious note, though, that it was absolutely gorgeous and still breathtaking to see. And the magic of being there with my husband and my daughter and having my friends by my side, I still very much enjoy the fact that I can say that I saw the Eiffel Tower in person. And I do acknowledge that it's actually a pretty historical event, saying that it was off because I was in Europe when the Queen passed away. After that, we just continued walking around the streets. There are beautiful statues everywhere, and Fred and Manu would tell us the history about the statues. We did go to the place where you could take really good pictures of the Arc de Triomphe. Pretty much anywhere you go in Paris, there's going to be something gorgeous that you can stop and take a picture of, whether it's a statue or a building, whether it has long roots in history or it was just made. Pretty much everything there is picture-worthy and gorgeous. We did realize it was getting very late, so we went back to our hotel, and as we were walking back to the hotel, there was a family going in to order pizza at a pizzeria at 11:30 at night. The streets were almost as busy as they were during the day. It felt like maybe just kind of a downtime. I could not believe it was 11:30 and there were still so many things open and so many people out. The next day, we met Fred and Manu for breakfast at a place called the Bar at the End of the World. And this was awesome. It was a hodgepodge of all things nerdy. Where we sat, it was 4 small tables together, and it was the Hogwarts tables. I think I sat at Ravenclaw. They had bookshelves with all kinds of variety of books. Everything anime. There was a Studio Ghibli book. There were books about Star Wars, Star Trek. Oh my goodness. Hitchhiker's Guide. I mean, some of these books seemed like they were very old, like they got their hands on maybe some first editions of things, and I was afraid to touch them. There were pictures and paintings and some characters stuck on the walls. You will definitely see pictures of this at the end of when I'm talking. It was wonderful. I loved being there. So we all had croque monsieurs for breakfast, and it's a type of sandwich with ham and cheese, like melted cheese. It was delicious. We also had a variety of pastries, of course, and some hot chocolate. After we ate, we walked towards Notre Dame, and we stopped to get some scarves and some fun little trinkets for souvenirs, and just continued having a great conversation, a great time. It was really funny because every now and then Fred or Manu would say, if you want to stop and take pictures, just let us know. We're just walking because we're going to go here, but if you want to stop and take a picture, it's fine. And I would be like, oh yeah, I've never been here before. Like, I should be looking around and taking pictures instead of just walking along and having a conversation. But I was just enjoying their company so much, and that was part of the magic to me, was to be there with them. When we arrived at Notre Dame, I teared up. Being able to see it in person was astounding. It is magnificent. It is so beautiful. It was under construction because of the fire, unfortunately, and it did break my heart a little bit to not be able to go in there. And it's, more incentive to go back. But even just seeing it from a distance in person was breathtaking. It is a beautiful cathedral. After seeing Notre Dame, we walked around the River Seine. We just continued to enjoy the scenery and each other's company. That evening, Fred had made reservations for us at a traditional Japanese restaurant, and they know him there because he eats there often. Of course, the food was absolutely delicious, and with the exception of Freya, all of us had traveled to Japan before. So we talked about our travels and our experience in Japan and the food there. And just like the previous evening, we realized that it had become very late. So we wrapped up our evening and we went back to our hotel. Unfortunately, Sunday was our last day there. Fred and Manu came to the hotel and we walked down to a cafe where we had a very big breakfast. We were going to Montmartre to see Sacré-Cœur. So this is a very large hill with a lot of steps. And then on the top of the hill, there is the monument of Paris, the Sacré-Cœur. So you can see this monument and then turn around and see just an absolutely breathtaking view of Paris. So as you're looking at Sacré-Cœur, so Paris, the beautiful view of Paris is behind you. You're looking at the Sacré-Cœur. You kind of keep walking, and behind it is where the artist alleys are. So we walked along there, and there are people set up everywhere doing all kinds of beautiful art. The paintings were gorgeous. We really wanted to buy some of the paintings, but we didn't know how we were going to be able to get it back to the US without it being damaged. So unfortunately, we didn't end up with any of the paintings. They did have some souvenir shops along the way, which of course grabbed my attention because I'm a tourist and I did want stuff from Paris. One of my favorite books is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And I was stopped by these little trays that had The Little Prince on them, and there were different trays that had different sayings on them. One of my favorite sayings from that book is, "What is essential is invisible to the eye." And my friend Fred pulled through and he found the saying. And I was so happy. I love this so much. After that, we did a bit more walking around, and then we had lunch at a restaurant called the Cat Noir, which was a black cat theme. So of course, Freya and I really enjoyed that. I had the biggest hamburger I've ever had in my life. It had so much stuff on it, and I ate every bite. And I definitely think that it was because I walked up and down those stairs and was very depleted of all the calories that I'd eaten that morning. I needed some more salt and protein and calories, and I deserved that hamburger. It was absolutely delicious. Unfortunately, after that, we had to say our goodbyes, which was very sad, and I really wish that that weekend had lasted much longer than it did. But Fred and Manu had to get ready for their work the next day, and David, Freya, and I had to go back to our hotel to get packed up for the train ride the next day to Heidelberg, Germany. I am so grateful for the time that I was able to have there. I'm grateful for my friendship with Fred and Manu. I'm so glad I was able to share that with David and Freya. Even though it was a really short time, it was absolutely magical.